I've got a dynamic duo joining me right now, Rotowire's Paul Bruno and AJ Scholz. They're here to preview tonight's NHL playoff slate. 4 games to choose from. Lock in at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time with the Panthers and Lightning. Guys, Austin Matthews scored 41 goals in 52 games in the regular season, won the Rocket Richard. Now he takes his talents into the playoffs against Montreal tonight as the most expensive player on this slate. He's going to cost you $9,200 to roster. Paul, are you paying up for Matthews, or is there someone else you'd rather spend your money on?
Well, while Matthews has scored at least a point in each of his 10 games against Montreal this year, that's 14 points over 10 games. That price point is pretty high when I see a ton of attractive, cheaper value plays on the board in tonight's sked. I think I'd rather retain some roster flexibility by looking a little lower on the price scale, where I see a couple of other first-line centers that will cost a little more than the total sum. Consider that the Islanders are taking their home ice with Mathew Barzal being blanked in the first 2 games of that series. He had 6 points over his 6 previous outings and will break out at home tonight, I think. You grab him for $5,800. You can pair him with Braden Point of Tampa, who had a big hand in breaking the Panther spirit by winning 2 games on the road in that series. You get him for only $6,600.
AJ, what do you think? You got to pay up $9,200, or are you looking somewhere else?
Well, I can't believe we didn't have 20 minutes of Paul going off on why Austin Matthews is the greatest player of all time. But having said that, I agree with him. I think the price tag is just a little bit too high for me. If you want to stick with the Leafs, you can look at John Tavares at $6,400. He's got 5 multi-point efforts in his last 15 games, combining for 7 goals and 10 assists over that stretch. You can also look to the Lightning and get Nikita Kucherov center Braden Point at $6,600. He's sitting with 2 goals on 5 shots, 1 assist in the first 2 playoff games. So those are some guys that I'm targeting instead of paying up for Austin Matthews tonight.
Okay, well, we have some high-priced plays. Now give us a value option on tonight's slate. AJ, who's saving you even more salary?
Well, stick with the Leafs first and mention Zach Hyman returning from injury tonight in a first-line role with Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews here. So taking him at $5,500 is a tremendous value there. I also like Andre Palat at $4,700 on the heels of his 2-point effort in Game 2. He also dished out 5 hits, blocked 3 shots there. Yeah, it's the number 2 power play unit for him, so not a ton of minutes with the man advantage. We're talking about a top 6 contributor for a Lightning team that I would expect will continue to rack up points throughout the postseason here.
All right, Paul, where are you finding some value?
Well, I agree with both calls that AJ made. Let me expand on them. AJ knows that I like to fill up my roster with more unheralded players who are playing on lines with the big name guys. I call it my sidekick theory. So the 2 guys that he mentioned certainly fit that role. Zach Hyman playing with Marner and Matthews. You get him for $5,500. You go lower and grab Palat, who might be the best value play on the board for only $4,700. I swear we didn't collaborate on this before we came on the show today. But I'll also throw in a guy that I think even AJ might have overlooked from his favorite team. The Penguins fans know all about Sidney Crosby, and I expect him to show up tonight in this key game. But that's why I look at his winger, Brian Rust, who scored 23 goals and 43 points on the year and will cost me only $5,900 tonight. Shame on you, AJ, for not pointing him out.
Shame on you, AJ. Okay, guys, let's move over to the sportsbook. So on the sportsbook, all of these games opened at 5.5 total goals. Can you give us an over or an under that you like tonight, Paul?
I like the under in the Vegas-Minnesota game. In large part, this call is linked to the great run that Marc-Andre Fleury is on. I wonder if even the president of his fan club, my colleague AJ, realized that Fleury has allowed 2 goals or less in 11 straight games now, starting for the Knights. They are a team that will lean on the Wild and draw them into a close checking affair this evening on Minnesota ice. That'll keep a lid on the offensive flow, trying to negate the Wild's recently sudden, potent offense and sucking the life out of this game, I think.
AJ, love that you're the president of a fan club. Why don't you go ahead and give us an over or under you like tonight?
I do like the under in that game, but I want to try and find some value on the totals here. So I'm looking at Penguins Islanders to hit the over at plus 112 here. Game 1 saw these teams rack up 7 goals in an overtime contest. Look, in team history, the Penguins are allowing 3.79 goals per game in the Nassau Coliseum over the course of 121 appearances. I will mention for his part, Jari has gotten the better of the Islanders in his career with a 9-2 record in 11 regular season and these 2 playoff contests. But that is just a house of horrors for the Penguins, and it could be a good opportunity to take the over in this one.
All right, guys, some fairly tight games on the money line tonight as well. AJ, can you give us your favorite pick just to win tonight?
Yeah, I'll stick with getting some value here. On the season, the Panthers went 25-3 at home. They're going to be getting Sam Bennett back from that one-game suspension. So I'm looking, again, value here, plus 122 on the money line. Look, if you don't love any of these money line bets, though, and you want to take a look at the puck line to get some value, then I'd look to Toronto at -1.5 for plus 128. Yes, the Habs have Carey Price back, but he hasn't played at the NHL level in a while. He got into an AHL game on a conditioning stint. It didn't really go great, all things considered. So I look for the Leafs to maybe roll in this one and in the series in general.
Paul, where are you going?
Bless you for that call, AJ. I really like Tampa at home tonight. I think I said they've already broken the Panthers' spirit, causing them to use 2 goalies in this series to no avail in 2 losses already. What's next, the Zamboni driver? I had to say that before you did, AJ. He's trying to rattle me on and offline, just so you know, for my allegiance for the Maple Leafs. This is now a series most likely to end up in 4 games for me. Teams that go a long way in the postseason usually have at least one short playoff series along the way. A Tampa win tonight all but puts the final nails in the Panthers' coffin, I believe.
All right, guys, Slate approved pick time. Paul, what is your favorite bet or DFS play tonight?
Well, I look way down the board and find a top 6 forward for $3,000 on a team that is playing big minutes. He's got 8 points in 10 games played. The fact that it's Josh Bailey of the Islanders has absolutely nothing to do with a barb aimed at AJ and his Pens fandom. If I find another guy in that price range, I will, in fact, put Austin Matthews in my DK lineup tonight.
AJ, where are you going for your Slate approved pick?
Well, I'm going to look for player props as I usually do here. I mentioned Tavares as my preferred DFS center tonight, so I'm looking his way for those player props. You can get him at plus 185 to score a goal tonight, plus 275 for 2 points overall in the game. Look, comparatively to Austin Matthews, you're giving up some pretty decent juice at minus 136 as the anytime goal scorer. And while that likely could happen, you're talking about the Rocket Trophy winner. I think getting the value out of Tavares for that anytime goal scoring spot is where I'm looking.